Dan Perry here with another C++ tutorial for Dan on Tech. In this video we'll look at nesting if statements. In the previous videos we've been looking at the if and the if-else statement, and one of the other things we can do with any type of structure is we can nest or place a structure inside of a structure. I'm going to give you a quick example of putting an if statement inside of an if statement. And what I have is a short program so far that goes in and it sets a couple of variables, x and y, and then it's got an if statement that says if x is greater than or equal to 100, say, or output x is really big, and that's all it does. It exits there and just prints an output that just lets us know we have left the if statement. Again, you'd never do that in a production system, but for a learning environment, we can do that. Well, with a nested if, what you do is you actually put a structure inside of a structure. In this case, it's the same. It's an if. So I would say if, and then whatever I want to test there. And I could test on a different value of x if I wanted, but in this case, I've got a variable y. And let's say if y is less than 100. Then we have our code block for the y variable. And I'm going to just see out something. And as usual, I like to save myself some work. So I'll just cut and paste that see out and say y is small. Now, let's go ahead and run it. Currently, when I run it, x is 50 and y is 50. And all it does this in this example or this case is say after if. Well, what it's done is it's gone in and set x and y both to 50. It gets to the if statement, it checks x's value, x is not greater than or equal to 100, so it's false, so it jumps down and it exits out of this outer if, this outside if. Well, let's change some values and see what's happened. Let's make x 150, and let's also make y 150. And when we run it, now it says x is really big, and then exits out of the if statement. So what it's done, it's again set these variables. It comes down to the if. It checks this if, and that's true this time. So it enters the if structure. It outputs the x is really big. It comes to this if statement. It tests y's value, and y is not less than 100, so that's false. So it skips that structure. Well, there's nothing after that structure, so the next thing, it exits out of the if, and it's printing the after y, or after if rather. So in this case, it entered the first if structure, but when it tested the second, that was false, so it did not enter that. Well, let me lower the value of y, drop it to 50. Let's run again. And now it says x is really big, y is small. So what it's done this time, it's set the values of x and y. It gets to the if statement to test x's value. Well, that's still greater than 100. That's true, just like in the last time we ran it. So it comes into there. It does the see out. It now checks this if statement. And it says, in this case, it says, or it checks to see if y is less than 100. Well, y is 50, so that's true this time. It enters that structure, then continues on out of that if, and then out of the other if. In this case, to keep it simple, there was only one statement in each of those ifs, but those could have been as many statements as we needed to in our code block. Thank you for watching this Dan on Tech video. Please subscribe to this playlist so you don't miss future videos. Please check out and subscribe to our other Dan on Tech channel playlists.